Welcome to the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube. This is our Awakening Together weekly gathering. Each and every week we have a different minister who speaks. If you'd like to attend our services live, please visit our website, awakening-together.org. Click on Online Sanctuary and How to Enter the Sanctuary. Our services are held Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary.
Okay, good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day. I'm so happy for daylight savings. I've been waiting for this day for a very long time. I think everybody's pretty bummed out about losing an hour, but not me. I feel like somebody turned the light switch on. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. It's good to see all of your faces. I want to give a shout out to Cheryl, her first homily last week, which I enjoyed. And it was really good. I'm kind of like going along a little bit of the same vein, and I just enjoyed it. And so congratulations. There's a lot going on in Awakening Together. I feel like everybody's kind of getting in where they fit in, and just finding their expression, and it's good. So awesome. Okay. So now we'll begin our prayer. Just breathing into this moment that contains everything. Moving into acceptance of what is and all of the ways that life displays its magnificence. Knowing that all of it is precious. All of it is good. All of it is transformative. All of it is light. And so it is. So now we'll have a reading by Blanchard. The Way of Liberation by Adyashanti on Inquiry, pages 25 to 28.
Thank you. Good morning. Making sure you can hear me. Yes, thank you. Inquiry. The sacred dimension is not something that you can know through words and ideas, any more than you can learn what an apple pie tastes like by eating the recipe. The modern age has forgotten that facts and information, for all their usefulness, are not the same as truth or wisdom, and certainly not the same as direct experience. We have lost touch with the intuitive wisdom born of silence and stillness. To hold a question inwardly in silent and patient waiting is an art rarely mastered these days. Inquiry is a bridge between the ego and the soul, and beyond to the infinite. And in parens, Adyashanti notes, I am using the term soul here to mean the essence, presence, or beingness that you are. Inquiry is not in any sense anti-intellectual or anti-rational. It is trans-rational. That is, it has the power to take you beyond both the conceptual mind as well as conditioned egocentric thinking. Although rooted in stillness, inquiry is the dynamic counterpoint to true meditation. Meditation is soft, allowing surrender, while inquiry demands bold and fearless questioning. Inquiry is a way of addressing the deepest existential issues confronting every human being. Who or what am I? What is life? What happens after death? What is God? What is the absolute truth of existence? Or simply, do I know with absolute certainty that this current thought, belief, opinion, interpretation, or judgment is true? The common element to inquiry is truth. What is truth? The truth question does not arise from or pertain to the various agendas of the ego. It is of the utmost importance that inquiry not become subject to the ego's various drives and motivations. The underlying drives of the ego are to feel better and to survive. But inquiry belongs entirely to the realm of the soul, that dimension of being born of stillness and light that seeks truth for its own sake. The first focus of inquiry centers on being. Being is the key that unlocks the kingdom. Who or what am I? Apart from body, mind, belief, occupation, gender, role, memory, or history. What am I? Exactly what is I? Remove all that the I is not. Strip the I of all the masks it wears. What's left? Something? Nothing? What's aware of that? In your direct experience, is something aware, or is no thing aware? Is someone aware, or is no one aware? Trace the thread of inquiry silently and patiently back through all of your identifications, all of your beliefs about yourself, all of your hidden judgments and assumptions about who and what you are. Take your time. Look deeply into each of these questions. Let the questions remove all that you are not. Let them undo all that you ever imagined yourself to be, all that you thought you should be, all that anyone ever told you to be. Trace the thread of inquiry back through all of your imagined identities. Follow the thread back through all that is imagined, clung to, or run from. Then be still. Rest in the contemplative silence and let the unknown workings of grace run their course. The realization of truth and reality can never be created by the mind. It always comes as a gift of grace. Inquiry clears away misperceptions and illusions, making one available to the movements of grace. The question of being opens the doorway to reality and truth, but is by no means the only question for inquiry. Question everything. Leave no stone unturned, no assumption unexamined, no form of denial left intact. Investigate each question slowly and deliberately. Place each question into the stillness of your being. Do not grasp for quick answers. Don't jump to conclusions. Instead, let each question reveal your hidden beliefs and opinions. Let it reveal whatever you are holding on to and believing that is at odds with what is. Look for all the ways that attaching to your mind causes you and others to suffer. Bring each question the mind poses into the ground of stillness. Meditate on it. Ponder it. Take your time. Don't answer it with your mind. Be still with only the question. Be very, very still. Filled with the love of truth, don't be surprised if inquiry begins to consume all of your hidden assumptions, all of your beliefs, all of your opinions, all of your judgments, all that you have learned secondhand from others. And don't be surprised if most of your spiritual ideas are consumed as well. For it is our spiritual ideas that most effectively protect us from the truly spiritual experience. Your greatest aid is your sincerity and desire for truth above all else. You may be shocked over and over again by the depth of illusion that you find and uncover within yourself, but never fixate on it or judge yourself. Accept, forgive, and move on. For your true being is infinite and absolute. It exists as much now as it ever did or ever will. Stand still in the sacred conflagration of inquiry and let it open you to the seat of all wisdom born of spirit. Only truth will survive. All else will perish. It is a sad thing that so few give the full measure of their lives to the truth. Most only go so far and then settle for less than a total surrender of all separation. In the end, we all get what we value most. And if we don't like what we have gotten, we had better take an honest look at what we are valuing. But never for a moment is truth lacking. Never is there more or less truth present or more or less availability. Truth is in abundant supply at all times, in all situations. It is simply awaiting recognition. And it has all of time on its side. Question your thoughts. Question your stories. Question your assumptions. Question your opinions. Question your conclusions. Question them all into utter emptiness, stillness, and joy. The keys to freedom are in your hands. Use them.
Thank you, Anne. That was beautiful. Okay. So this homily for me, which is called All of Me, the end of two, really is just a deepening that I've been having with regarding karmic patterns inquiry, along the same theme in a sense of my last homily, but just further deepening into this, because this is it's quite a journey. So I chose this song because I feel that I'm bringing that I'm in a place where I'm sort of welcoming all these parts of myself back home. Some feelings I pushed away years ago, and some I've just perpetually have disallowed. I've seen where I've been more concerned with getting rid of a disturbance than healing that piece that's coming up, because it has always felt like too much, too much to sort out or to fix, or just too much, really. So the question becomes, why not take all of me? I cannot pinch off any part of myself and experience wholeness. So why not take all of me? The parts that seem like they don't fit, the parts that are unsightly, crooked, the parts that keep coming to visit uninvited, ruining the party. So finally, I'm saying all guests are welcome. I don't just watch you. I don't politely ask you to leave. I'm inviting you in to stay and to get to know what you are. I'm asking, what are you? I don't just want your backstory. What are you? Fear, sadness, despair, unsettling feeling. What are you? Sometimes the emotions don't even carry these labels. I can just feel some energy that I dread coming up in my solar plexus, and I ask, what are you? And the answer is always the same. I am the self. There is only ever the one. Excuse me 1 second. Kids getting loud with TV. All right. The self is showing up in the most creative and confusing shapes, but always the ocean, no matter the wave. I ask the wave what it is, and it is always the ocean, no matter what it may be reflecting, and no matter how it got to be the shape that it is. The recognition is transformative on all levels. All waves come to an end, and I welcome them home. Though this wave would seem to harm me and wipe me out in the process, as I swim against the current, I too am a wave rolling in the greater I. All of it, the ocean. Why not take all of me, as if I could resist this inevitability? Does it have to look like suffering? Does it have to look like swallowing all that water, splashing in a panic? Take all of me so that you understand that we were never two, so that you can understand that you never needed to merge, that you never needed to transcend, that you never even needed to do anything but be curious about what I am in all things. So my favorite bird of late is a starling. I love to watch them and I get mesmerized. They move as one mind, and I almost forget that these birds that I'm looking at are birds. The formations are so interesting and beautiful. Some birds in other species do this swooping down in formation, forming really to avoid becoming prey. It's a form of self-preservation, but starlings do it for these reasons at times, but at other times they do it just because. As I read further, I found that they're quite destructive to other birds. Bluebirds, owls, woodpeckers, they destroy crops and do dropping drive-bys. If any of you have had this happen to your car, it is quite jaw-dropping, and it feels personal. This reminded me of how mind is and how there is a functional quality to it, letting me know when I have to get up in the morning or I need gas in my car, etc. And yes, and yet patterns and thoughts play for no reason at all, becoming destructive, playing old tunes that accompany repetitive karmic scenery of the past. And the thoughts dance. And then I dance without a thought to what is actually going on, without questioning the trance that I am in or what I am believing. Am I actually safe? Am I actually worthy? Do I need to follow the prompts that signal me to continue this dance that is shaping my experience of the self? Sometimes looking like beauty, sometimes looking like destruction. Do I want to know the self in its infinite nature rather than these impermanent waves of this or that? I'm recognizing the signals that say, move this way or go that way. And I question the prompt of fear, sadness, or anger that say, go, go, go. And I say, wait a minute. The beauty of being human and the ability to self-reflect. Starlings actually move next to the closest 7 birds in their proximity, and they just dance and mindlessly move. So being able to self-reflect, I can step out of formation anytime that I want. And when I do, the birds must follow, yes, the closest 7 birds, and so on. And I can recognize that I am the one and that this formation is my will being done. What shape shall I take next? And when I do take shape, can I remember that it is all me? Can I remember what I am when the shapes would seem to have a mind of their own? That the self could never be unsafe, that the self could never be unworthy, and that the self always gets what it wants. I have another story that fits in well with inquiry, and I have a confession that I have a horrible sense of direction. And maybe I need to do inquiry on this and ask if this is true. But for now, it appears that I don't have that gene. Don't ask me north or south. I speak in landmarks. I read once that there's a difference between men and women, and that women tend to recognize patterns and landmarks, and men tend to be more north-south, sort of map-oriented. Not as a rule, but when I meet women who are really good at this, I'm so amazed. And it's like meeting someone who's ambidextrous. Like, how come I didn't get that? So my oldest daughter has the gene, and my youngest doesn't. She's poor thing. She's like me. And my husband would often say to me, "Don't you know where you are?" And I've heard that so many times from my dad. I answered like a pro now. Nope. No shame. And if I'm in a passenger seat, you cannot count on me. I'm not paying attention. Have you ever been to a doctor's office and come out of the examination room when it's time to leave and said, uh-oh, and it's hard to find the front of the office where you came in? My medical assistant and I hedge bets on who's going to loop right back around to the office where the room is. And the reason why this happens is because doctors' offices are just hallways and rooms, and there's really no landmarks. When asking for directions, if someone starts talking north-south, I just say, stop right there. You need to tell me turn by turn where I'm going. So I'm going to my girlfriend's house some years ago. She fractured her ankle, and she called out to some friends to help her out. She has 2 little ones. And my kids are with me because she has a daughter their ages. Now, GPS is the best thing that has ever happened to a person like me. I don't know how I got along without it, but it has its limitations. So we get 3 miles within her house, within distance of her house. And the GPS begins to take me on this loop, round and round. And I start to get that familiar feeling like, I've seen this corner before. This building looks familiar. I've seen this tree. And I realize that I'm on a loop. And even my kids are realizing it, which is sad because that means we've been looping for a while. There's this hill on the loop that's really steep. And every time we go down it, the kids put their hands up and go, wee, like they're on Great Adventures or something. And they really are too young to be mocking me, but it feels like they're taunting me. And I get really angry and I snap at them, be quiet, I can't concentrate. And I finally stop for directions, and my girlfriend tells me how to get to her house. But GPS, like mind, has no wisdom. It just contains programming that tells you how to get where you're going and many times we never question the program. We never ask, where am I? When we find ourselves on that karmic loop, passing the same building, the same tree, the same park bench, we can even predict who is going to say what next, what emotions are going to arise. We may even know what beliefs are in play, and yet we go round and round. One of my beliefs is that I must put out fire after fire, troubleshooting everything at all times, and that peace is elusive. As I questioned this so far, I saw the manifestation change very quickly. So what happens when I question on a continual basis versus when I'm in crisis? What happens when I'm not just seeking relief, but become curious about the self? What I found is that the manifestation or my experience of it must change. I had some old karmic pattern begin to play, no longer mesmerized by the dances. It was getting old. You know that old Bugs Bunny cartoon intro that goes, yeah, da, 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 yeah, da, 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 da. It's crazy making. And that's what these old karmic patterns are like, or beginning to sound like. And rather going into the belief that this will never end, or I have to do something or join the dance, I just welcome all the feelings home. And they are neutralized in the love of the self. In this acceptance and love, suffering is not necessary. It is my non-acceptance that has made suffering possible. Can I make friends with this reflection? Can I ask what it wants? The mind could never tell me this answer. I can take all kinds of answers for this question from mine. But the last and final answer is always the stillness, the silence, the self. Yet I let my mind come up with its answers, and I let it have its say, letting my body have its feelings. And then the self speaks, and the suffering ceases. But the exploration has just begun. We often stop when we start to feel better, or when we uncover some truth. But there's so much more. And I do this as many times as I need to do this. And I look forward to no longer holding my breath to experience joy and love. To not needing things to change to experience the self now. To removing the barriers to truth that make me believe these shapes could keep me from the self. That a wave could keep me from experiencing the ocean. If the truth is in the ocean, then the truth must also be in the wave. And so I question the wave. And the ocean answers. It reveals its essence, which is the essence of all things. I know I'm winding down here. Sina, I have some time? Okay. In this process, I cannot be attached to anything that arises, ever curious, and it is never done, never limiting, the ever unfolding nature of the self. The dynamic force, which is always moving, invites more curiosity into its nature. A contemplation is never finished, as manifestation is never finished. As I also learned from some of Helen Hamilton's teachings, as manifestation is never finished, the answer is never finished. There is a part of me that is always staying tuned to what wants to be seen or heard. What I've noticed is that the ego wants to be finished. It is uncomfortable with uncertainty. It wants to check the box and move on. It wants to solve this thing called life. It wants to solve the problem. It wants a guarantee that the ground will never move again. As the self, there is no ground. There are no limits. And I do not need the mind to agree with me on this. I do not need the shapes to conform to this truth. I need only be curious about the form that would seem to be causing me to suffer. It is not every shape that causes suffering. There are some shapes where I can say, it's just a shape. You know, those areas of your life where challenges are manageable or where there is not much believing going on. These are the areas in our lives where it's easy to question and we see the reflection easily and we do not suffer. And then there are those shapes that seem to be more formidable, the ones that have gathered more momentum over years and years and perhaps lifetimes. Yes, those. I do not need even those to conform to anything, as they are the self also. I just need to welcome them home, as destructive and mesmerizing as they may seem. Self sees only self. It is we who assign hierarchies to our problems and struggles. It is we who need them to be done. The self never saw anything else but self, which is why when we bring these shapes to our inner altar, the wave just flows back into the ocean. And we say, is that it? What about the story playing over here and the manifestation looking me in my face? And the self says, what about it? And if we are willing, the alchemy begins, and we are simply humbled by the nature of the self. Nothing fancy, no fireworks, just is. And our curiosity takes us as far as we will let it, a never-ending expansion into what we are. And all we have to do is just ask in all the ways that we do, what am I? Asking what is this emotion, this relationship, this thought, all the same question as all is the self. Asking what is this wave eventually brings you full circle to the ocean. My current and chronic preoccupation has been with family, which has brought up all kinds of beliefs for me to shadow box with. And a couple of days ago, we had Chinese, and wouldn't you guess, my fortune cookie read, your family is one of nature's masterpieces, which was confirmation that we cannot escape the self in all its magnificence, no matter the disguise. So I'm realizing that all this effort I've exerted to avoid these emotions which I felt would swallow me whole, I realized I needed to experience the full spectrum of what I am. To shut down these unwanted emotions is to shut down the self in all its splendor. Why would I not want to experience all of what I am? It is the ego that tells us that exploring negative emotions cannot end well, and we believe it. If it is truly all the self, then the transformational power of the self is no less so in any form. The power of the self is in itself, and all is the self. So we cannot limit its power, no matter how we define its shape. As these emotions come home, I let the self tell me what it is. I've been scaring myself with my mind's limited definitions for ages. Contemplation says, show yourself. And the self must. Ask and it is given. So I'm going to end by just saying in these statements that Adyashanti has said, you know, it just unravels this web spun by our misidentification. Being completely naked and uncovering what is believed, what is feared, what is hoped for, and then letting grace take you beyond, and then beyond, and then beyond. Inquiry is truly the end of two. It is the end of the belief in another perspective. It is the end of separation, the end of out there or the other. It is the ultimate reunion. So here is a song, if we have time, that gives gratitude to the essence of what the love of the self is like. Has this symphony always been playing and I just didn't hear it? Symphony by Diana Ross. And this is what contemplation and inquiry is like. No? So we have some time. It's so funny because that song, I was like, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 years old, and my mom had the Supremes album, which this song was on, and I played it to death. Like sometimes I feel like I must have been born in another time and space. But this song in particular, I used to just put it on the record player and play it over and over and over again. It just was, just took you someplace else. Even though it's a love song, it's very beautiful. And so I was gonna share something else that is beautiful, just a really short reading from the Hamilton Gita called Look Again, which is another way to look at inquiry. Look again and see if there is really a world that you are moving around in. Look again and see if there are any other beings except you. Search a little deeper and see if there is actually anything you want. Inquire more deeply and find out if you are suffering. Investigate fully and find out if you are missing out on anything at all. Look closer at reality and see what it actually is. Question again what there actually is for you to be afraid of. Recognize completely that you are already free. Question once more if you really have a mind at all. Insist on finding out what you really are. Be sure to find out if there actually are any phenomena. Insist on discovering if objects are real. Investigate completely if there is any manifestation at all. Accept no limitations at all on your life. Thank you. Okay. So do we have any sharings or? Let's see here.
Anne.
Thank you. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Reverend Beverly. You know, it's just such a perfectly timely and both like super deep and like really simple. My favorite part of what you said, the part that I just rejoice in, is when I bring it all to the stillness, right? When I slow this stuff down and I just bring it to the stillness. I love what you said. It's nothing fancy. Just something just gives. You're like, well, what about this? And there's a little bit of like, yeah, what about this? Just it's like, oh wait, that wait, like I could have missed it. Like I could have missed that moment until I realized, wait, something has just fallen away. Maybe not all the way, but something has given. Contemplation says, show yourself, and it must. And ask, and it is given. And to say it is one thing, to believe it is another, but in the whole other category is doing it. Doing it, and doing it, and doing it. And then, obviously, the more we do it. You cannot see that. You are not doing it. It is doing you, and it is doing you, and it is doing you. So what a gift. What a gift. Thank you. Thank you.
I think I see Regina.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't know if I would be noticed with the little virtual hand there.
Easier.
And let me see if I can figure out how to put it. Oh, I think Sina put it down for me. I was going to try and figure that out for myself, but I won't now. I did an evening satsang this week, and somebody said something during the evening satsang about how I was the only teacher that points people back within. And I said, there must be someone else. And I'll tell you what, that article that was read by Adyashanti, that sounded to me exactly like my teachings. I don't think there's any difference whatsoever in what Adyashanti said in that article and what I've been saying over and over and over again. In fact, I remember once saying, a long time ago, I had forgotten, but I remember once saying that, I was the female Adyashanti and Adyashanti was the male me, because our teachings are exactly the same. But, then you read that little thing from Helen Hamilton, and in a slightly different way, she's pointing within too. I mean, her words are a little different, but she's pointing within too. So, I don't know where this perception came from that I'm the only teacher that points within, but, Ramana Maharshi points within, with self-inquiry. Maybe what's a little different is sometimes it sounds like Ramana Maharshi's asking one question, who am I? Where Adyashanti and I are much more clear, question everything, question everything, question everything. But the problem is, of course, from the time we were born until now, our mind has been conditioned by a number of different factors, but our mind has been conditioned. And when we look out at the world, we look out at the world through that conditioning, which again means, like right now, my eyes happen to be landing on my desk. If there were 3 of us looking at my desk, we could literally have 3 different opinions about my desk. One person could think it was a beautiful desk. Another person could think it looked old. Another person could think that, it was just right in the corner the way it is. I mean, we could have like totally different opinions, and we can't reach truth through difference because there's no difference in truth. And so everything in my mind and everything in your mind that leads me to look at the world in an individualistic point of view has to be seen through, because the truth is when you wipe all of that away. And it's interesting because, we find people that think a lot like us. In fact, most people tend to hang out with people that think a lot like them, but you can't find any 2 individuals that think exactly the same. When you get a person who thinks a whole lot like you, if you were to discuss everything on the news, for example, you're still going to find differences in your thinking. In fact, there are no 2 people on the planet who are programmed in the exact same way and therefore see the world in the exact same way, which absolutely must mean that every one of us has to be wrong. If I'm the only person that sees exactly the way I see, how could that be right? And yet we all walk around with the idea that we're right. It's so insane. And so what Adyashanti was pointing to in that article that was read, which was brilliant, question everything, question everything. You've got to see through everything. That's the only way to get to clarity, because we're completely confused and we think we're completely right, which is like double confusion. So I just wanted to say thank you for bringing that to us today. It was really brilliant and I loved it.
Thank you. Thank you. I remember the inquiry is always something that I've had a lot of resistance to. I think I didn't understand it. And I know people would come away from the inquiry retreats and the dyads. I remember even way back a few years ago, Carrie Christensen was saying to me, you have to take this, you have to do this. And I don't know why I had such resistance to doing inquiry. It was like, I don't know what it was, and maybe I just wasn't ready for it. But I think for me, it felt like opening Pandora's box. And like, what if I can't put the lid back on? It's like, what is going to happen if I can't, put everything neatly back where it was, So I of course now see it a lot differently, and can definitely appreciate how life-changing it can be. So thank you. Anyone else have anything to share? Jackie?
I just wanted to say thank you for the reminder. I think what really hit me in a nice beautiful way from what you talked about this morning is to question. And I feel like there's a light bulb that went off in my head about that, even deeper than what I conceptually understand about inquiry. And I just want to say thank you for that, because it really, really touched something very deeply in me this morning. So thank you.
Groove is in the heart. I love Delight. And I was just like listening to this song, and it was like, what is love? I was like, that's a contemplation. I could do that. And then the other thing that was really funny that I came upon just yesterday, I was thinking, you know how when we were little, if somebody calls you a name, depending on what generation you are come from, and they say, I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I? I said, oh my God, that's a contemplation. It's like the mind can say, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm worried. And we could say, I know you are, but what am I? I was like, that is so deep. Anyway, it's enough of me. So this has been good. Anyone else want to share? You're welcome. I think we have a couple minutes left. So I'm gonna say
Sharon Hepburn.
awesome.
So I have told Bev this a couple of times. I absolutely love listening to Beverly speak. She always has such direct pointings. And I kind of feel like I'm following her on her journey. She's making the footprints in the snow or sand or whatever, and I'm jumping through them right behind her. So absolutely adore all her messages. And today, I've been telling people, we sit there and we talk about contemplations and we talk about prayer and we talk about meditations. And I just really think there should be a big symbol that says, just do it. And, and today's homily was kind of really about just do it, quit talking about it, quit trying to figure out how to do it, quit saying I can't do it, quit pointing to how you can't do it, just go contemplate and it goes from there. So thank you very, very much. I am truly, truly grateful for everything you bring to the table, Beverly, and today was no exception.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And if there are no other sharings, we can go out with a song.
You've been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.